Is this the best engine that Harley Davidson has ever made? The Evo Sportster engine? I really love these engines. They have a lot of great qualities, and that's what I wanted to discuss. Real quick before we jump into the episode, if you're new here, I didn't introduce myself. My name's Paul. This is my YouTube channel. It's all about old Harleys, Evo stuff, and earlier, like the Evo Sportsters we're going to talk about today. I did want to take a minute though and just say thanks to everybody who's bought the Chimney Rock Lake Lure relief stickers from my web store, buttcrackcycles.com. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I came out with some stickers probably about a month ago, and 100% of the money from those stickers is getting donated to Hurricane Helene relief efforts there in North Carolina. Lake Lure is pretty close to my house, and it's somewhere near and dear to my family. So thanks to all of y'all who've bought stickers. So far I've made a $150 donation from those sticker sales. I do have some sticker packs left, so I'd love to sell some more of them so we can get some more money to those folks who need it. And while you're on the web store, you can also grab one of my shirts. They're printed on Made in USA shirts because that's pretty important to me. I hate doing these self-promotion commercials and such in the episodes, but if you work for yourself like I do, no one's going to promote you harder than yourself. All right, I'm going to shut up. Let's go talk about some Evo Sportsters. So if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you'll know that I'm kind of always buying and selling and flipping bikes, as well as working on motorcycles for customers, friends, and obviously my own personal bikes. And Evo Sportsters are something that have been on this channel a lot. I have bought and sold quite a few of them over the last couple of years. There's one sitting out under the lean-to, the orange one that was in the intro, and there's one sitting at the back of the shop. It's a 96 1200 project. And while neither of my current personal bikes are Evo engine, Sportster or Big Twin, I really do like the Evo Sportster engine. In fact, I like it better than the Evo Big Twin. That might be a controversial opinion because some people probably would say that the Evo Big Twin is the greatest engine that Harley Davidson ever made, but I would beg to disagree and say the Evo Sportster is probably the best one that the Moco has ever made. Now, this doesn't mean that it's my favorite engine that Harley has ever made. I like an Ironhead better than an Evo, but just like objectively speaking, the Evo Sportster was really good, and I think that's part of why it had such a long and successful production run. First, I think we need to do a quick Harley history lesson here. The Evo engine came out in '86 to replace the Ironhead. The Ironhead was the Sportster engine for a long time. Ironhead engine ran from 56 to 85, if I'm remembering my years right here, when the XL model came out to replace the old K model. And I've heard people say that that stands for experimental lightweight. I've also heard it just means for extra light or extra lightweight. Regardless of what XL meant, the XL platform ran for a really long time before Harley killed it 2 years ago to replace it with that liquid-cooled abomination of whatever the hell they've got going on. Anyways, I don't want to talk about that. And 36 years of that production run, from 1986 to 2022, the Sportster was powered by the Evo engine. And when the Evo Sportster engine came out in '86, it was a pretty big departure from the old Ironhead. These two engines, while they look very similar from the outside, they're both air-cooled V-twins with 4 individual camshafts and a unitized construction, meaning the engine and transmission share one lower case versus a big twin where those are separate. The way that the Evo and the Ironhead are bolted together, especially in the top end, is pretty significantly different, and the Evo style of doing this is much better. I'll show you what I mean. On this Ironhead engine, you can see how our cast iron cylinder is fastened to the crankcase with studs and nuts, and then our cylinder heads are bolted into the cylinder itself. On this Evo engine, however, you will note that there are no base fasteners where the bottoms of the cylinders meet the crankcase. Instead, the bolts for the cylinder heads bolt down into studs, which run the length of the cylinders and all the way down into the crankcase itself. Our cylinder head to cylinder mating surface is right in between these two fins, though looking at this overall thing, doesn't it sure look like a complete monolithic package? So what all of that means is that on the Ironhead engine, you have this cast iron cylinder and a cast iron cylinder head that are sort of, as the piston is moving up and down inside of that liner bore, always sort of trying to move and fight against each other. Whereas on the Evo engine, you have this cast aluminum cylinder head with the cast aluminum cylinder with an iron sleeve, which is not only very strong, but because of the way that they bolt that all together and down into the crankcase, it's very, very rigid, which means that you keep that piston centered in the bore so much better, and you also don't have as many leaks. That means for us as people who are riding these bikes, the Evo Sportster engines are really reliable. A lot of the issues that Ironheads had sort of go away just because of the way that Harley changed the way that the whole top end was bolted together. Another really good benefit to the Evo Sportster engine, and any Sportster engine for that matter, is the 4 individual camshafts. While that sounds like it might be more moving parts to fail and wear, 4 cams versus 1, like how a shovelhead or panhead or an Evo Big Twin has. At the end of the day, the 4 cam solution is actually a really wonderful, efficient, and practical solution to a V-twin overhead valve engine. And the biggest reason for that is because of rocker geometry. It's easier to show rather than tell. So again, we'll use some bikes I have sitting around here at the shop to just show you that difference. So on a big twin engine, and big twin for the sake of this video means Evo engine and earlier, like the shovelhead sitting right in front of us, the valves up in your rocker boxes are driven by the push rods, and all 4 push rods are driven off of a single centrally mounted camshaft. On the Sportster engine, you will notice that our push rods are straight up and down from the cam chest up into the rocker boxes, instead of being all crisscross applesauce like on the Big Twin. And the reason for that is if you remove this cam chest cover right here, you will find 4 individual camshafts inside of this cam chest. There's 1 cam for each valve of the engine. And what that means is that Sportster engines inherently have a much better push rod and valve train geometry because everything is straight in a line coming from the cams up to your rockers. This means that they have just much better high RPM stability. Stuff doesn't shift and move around. There's a whole lot less play in the system, and you're not side loading the lifters like you do in a single cam Big Twin. This again ends up meaning that you have an engine that just by design wears itself less and therefore lasts better. The Evo Sportster engine is also an aluminum engine, much like the Evo Big Twin, and just like the Evo Big Twin compared to its cast iron predecessors, the Evo Sportster engine cools significantly better than the old cast iron stuff does too. I've also heard that as a result of having that steel cylinder liner inside of the aluminum cylinder, that the piston wear on those engines is better than the old cast iron stuff, and that the way that the oil hangs on the cylinder walls is better on the Evo engines than, say, an Ironhead. I personally can't confirm or deny that based off my own experience, but that comes from Jerry Branch, who is a pretty sharp guy, way smarter than me. I also feel like the package of these bikes is pretty nice. This kind of applies to any Sportster, but the Evo Sportsters especially. They're pretty easy to work on. Parts are easy to find for them, readily available, and cheap. I actually really like the unit construction on these. If you've ever pulled a transmission out of a Sportster, it's much faster and much easier than trying to get one out of a Big Twin. And generally for me, maintenance on a Sportster goes faster and is easier to do than maintenance on a Big Twin. A big part of that for me might just be because I buy and sell a lot of Sportsters, and I'm a Sportster guy. Now, someone is of course going to say, but that Sportster can't keep up with my Big Twin. It doesn't have any power. To which I would say, wrong. The Evo Sportster is actually a fantastic package in which to make power from. You can even start with an 883 and do some pretty good things with one of those. It also helps that 883 Sportsters are cheap and plentiful, so if you're looking to build a hot rod street bike, you can start with a pretty cheap foundation. It's not too difficult to take an 883 and turn it into a 1200 if that's what you want to do, or there's several companies that sell 1250 and 1275 big bore kits like the Hammer kits. Again, you can make some serious power out of one of those with really not a whole lot of investment, and the beautiful thing about it is that it's in the smaller, lighter, narrower, more nimble bike. And me personally, I get more excited about a small light bike that has, 80 horsepower than I do about a 900-pound bagger that makes 100. All of that stuff I talked about earlier with regards to how the engine package is bolted together makes the Evo Sportster a pretty good platform to build on. You have that built-in rigidity, and on top of that, the cylinder heads on the Evo Sportsters actually flow really well. When the Evo replaced the iron head, one of the things that people who were racing these bikes and running them in competitive motorsports events loved about this engine was the cylinder heads. The cylinder heads in the Evo Sportster bikes have a really great combustion chamber shape to them. The 883 heads use smaller chambered heads. I believe they're 48 cc's versus 67 for the 1200. But the real big thing here is the combustion chamber shape inside of the cylinder head, plus the valve angle. The iron head valves are not quite as straight up and down as the Evo engine valves are, and the valve placement within the cylinder head, plus the squish band in the combustion chamber and the shape of the combustion chamber, makes these really good flowing heads, and they're pretty efficient heads too. And again, you don't have to take my word for it. You can look this stuff up. This has been borne out on Flowbench tests that were published before I was even born, some of which can be found in this wonderful book by Branch Flowmetrics, Jerry Branch. This book came out when the Evo Sportster was basically brand new. You can see it on the front, 883 and 1100. And in this book, Branch Flowmetrics was given two brand new 1986 883cc Evo Sportsters, complete bikes that both had about 1,000 miles on them. And over the course of 5.5 months, they'd made over 535 tests and documented all of it in this book. All of the work is backed up with things like flowcharts and dyno graphs, even a couple of black and white pictures at the back. And they go through all of the changes in detail as far as how to make power from one of these engines. They try multiple different camshafts, carburetors, exhaust manifolds, do different work on the cylinder heads. They even end up putting in a set of custom Wiseco pistons with some cylinders to make a 1200 before the 1200cc engine even existed. And at the end of the book, probably can't see it on camera, they end up cracking 95 horsepower out of a 1200cc engine. And that engine ended up going to Daytona to be used by Scotty Parker as a training engine for the Battle of the Big Twins. So people have been hot rodding these things pretty much since day one. The work has been done. The math has been done. The engineering has been figured out. You can copy a recipe in this book or find some recipes from some other people and make some serious power out of one of these little engines, and it'll probably stay together for a really long time. Finally, this is sort of more of a practical, real-world thing that I love about the Evo Sportsters. It's that they're cheap. That orange one y'all saw under the lean-to was a non-running, non-riding bike, but it had a clean numbers matching title, and I gave $700 for the whole thing. The one at the back of my shop right here is a 1200, and it did run when I bought it, though poorly. And yeah, I've got it taken apart in pieces, but I think I only gave $1,000 for that bike, maybe $1,200 at the most. The most I ever spent on one was $2,000 for a 2001, and I rode that bike for quite a long time after I got finished fixing it up, and eventually ended up selling that bike for $3,800, so I turned a really nice profit on it. These bikes are literally everywhere. Anywhere you look, it's not hard to find one, and they really don't sell for that much money, which is great, because if you're out there looking for a bargain on an older Harley, an Evo Sportster is like a no-lose situation in my mind. So to sum all this up, I think the Evo Sportster engine is a pretty nice piece of design and engineering, and it makes perfect sense to me why they lasted so long. They're reliable, they make decent power in factory form in a small, lightweight bike. They're easy to hop up if you want to do that. Parts are easy to find and generally pretty affordable for them. They're easy to work on, they're cheap to buy, and you know, chances are they're not going to leave you walking. Are they my favorite Harley engine ever? No. The Ironhead absolutely is my favorite Harley engine. I don't think an Evo bike looks nearly as good as an Ironhead. I just don't. I think the Ironhead just looks so much better. I also don't think that an Evo Sportster sounds as good as an Ironhead. And comparing like an 883 Sportster to an Ironhead, a good running Ironhead, the Ironhead seems a little bit torquier and a little more responsive to me. The power band on it isn't quite as peaky as the 883 power band. And just the overall riding experience on an Ironhead to me just feels a little more engaged and a little more raw. But with all of that being said, you know, I do think these are really great engines. I have enjoyed every one of them that I have ever been on. That red bike in particular, that's one of my favorite bikes to spin through my hands over the last few years, and that was a fantastic bike. It was a great just daily rider, a great parts runner, go to the store and throw a bunch of stuff in the sissy bar bag and come home and just enjoy the wind in your face and not have to worry about breaking down. So that's it. That's a wrap on this episode. I think the Evo Sportster engine is great. I think it's probably the best buy right now in the used Harley Davidson marketplace as far as bang for your buck goes. I get it that not everyone wants to be on a Sportster. Some people think they're girls' bikes. Some people just can't be seen on a Sportster because of that. I really don't give two flying craps one way or the other. Ride whatever you want. Let me know what your thoughts are on that, if you think I'm on target or off the mark. But I'm going to turn the camera off. I need to work on my little iron head that's sitting right here next to me. It's a beautiful day outside, and I would much rather be working on my bike or riding my bike than sitting here in front of the camera. So I will see y'all on the next episode. Thank you, as always, for watching. Bye-bye.